Namaskar. We welcome you to our well-being series today. We have here Ms. Tehmina Khan, who is the Senior Vice President of Clycon and the former Learning and Development Manager of Wipro. She is also the co-founder of the Fifth Mantra. I welcome you, Tehmina, to share your inspiring story with us today. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Navina. Right? It felt good to listen to my introduction. I've heard that after a long time because it's me who keeps introducing myself all the time. But felt good when you introduced and just realized that, yeah, I do a couple of things, not lots of things, but yes, I do. Right? Yes, Navina introduced me. I'm Tehmina Khan. At the moment, at present, I head this company called Clycon, which is US IT based company. It's into US staffing. So I'm the senior vice president here, and I handle all the India operations and take care of it. And I'm also a co-founder of Fifth Mantra, the Fifth Mantra, which is an online training forum started by three very passionate ladies who want to help people improve their communication skills and see how we can empower more women to achieve their dreams, right? And we call our programs and we invite people to join our communication fitness studio. That is what we call it. And my past experience has all been into behavioral training, soft skills to be very precise. I've been with Wipro for almost like 10 years, close to 10 years. I've trained people right from new hires to senior managers, did lots of training programs, all revolving around soft skills, behavioral skills, and all of that. And prior to that, I worked with companies like 24/7, Genpact, and Cycle as a voice and accent coach. So I started my career as a voice and accent coach, right, where I train people on accent neutralization for long, and then slowly moved into behavioral training, customer service, and other kind of training program. Navina, talking about my qualification has nothing to do with my job experience, right? By education, if you look at my educational qualification, first thing that will strike is I'm a lawyer. I've done LLB and I've done 3 years of graduation, that is BSc in genetics. And I also hold a diploma in advertising, right? So this is what I am by qualification. You see, I'm a lawyer, I'm a copywriter. So, lots of things by qualification. However, professionally, I'm into something different now. It has got nothing, but one thing that is still common in what I do now, and I wanted to do is the way I connect with people. So I've always been passionate about connecting with people, right? So irrespective of getting into advertising field or becoming a lawyer, it had to do something with people. So I'm still here doing what I wanted to do, though it is not direct, but still, it's fine. So that's about me in short, Navina. Yeah.
So you just gave a very short introduction about yourself on how you were educated in various different fields and your worked and your work experience right now or what you are doing right now is completely different. How does this all merge together? Can you share your story with us?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's even I find it interesting when I talk about my journey. And during my training programs, I used to meet these young girls, talk to them, and tell them my experience I would share, right? So most of us, I mean, when I say most of us, a majority of us, right? We all study something, however, we end up doing something else. That's what happened with me. In fact, as a kid, whenever somebody asked me in school, what would you be? My first answer would be Mother Teresa. I would always tell, because I was so influenced. I studied in a convent school. And I was so influenced by the way sisters used to, meet us, greet us, treat us, So my first answer would be Mother Teresa until I think fifth standard also. Then suddenly it changed. You see, the drastic change that I had was I watched Kiran Bedi on TV once as a child, right? When I was in my seventh or eighth standard, Kiran Bedi was like, wow, for us, she was like a superwoman. Then I said, no, Mother Teresa, no, I'll be Kiran Bedi. So then I started telling my friends, see, I'll fight like I'll be a police officer because I have it in me and all of that. So that continued until 10th standard. But then I realized, no, Kiran Bedi needs lots of hard work, yeah, physical hard work. And I can't run even for 2 kilometers. I'm like, nahi, mujhse ye chor police wala nahi hoga. No, Kiran Bedi. Then I'm like, what do I do? Thing. Then I said, yes, doctor. That's it. I fixed. I said, I will be a doctor, come what may. Nothing is going to change me, right? I will. Then I started studying, prepared for MSET back then. Now it is different, I guess. So I worked hard, but not like the way people work hard, right? And I didn't clear in first attempt. So my father said, why don't you take 1 more year coaching and then attempt it, right? That's how people do normally. They again do it. So I took 1 year coaching and it was all fixed. It was only doctor in my mind and nothing else. But then in the second attempt, I did get a rank, but that rank couldn't get me a free seat. As in, I didn't qualify to get a free. So my dad said, you want us to pay donation and all, then we'll do it. We'll see how much we can do. And then I said, no, like a good daughter and all. No, I don't want. I'll do something else. Now what? What do you want to do? So I said, I'll study. I'll see what is happening, the current subject. Then genetics was a happening subject. It could get me to a field, a new field altogether. Jumped into genetics, took up BSc genetics, botany, chemistry, 3 combination. And I've always been touched with, by the grace of God. I've been excellent student. Okay, when I say excellent student, I was my teacher's pet right from my school days. So everything became easy for me. So being a teacher's pet, lecturer's pet, things became easy. Though I was never hardworking, right? They would do things for me. They would help me. So somehow I cleared. I'm not an excellent student, but I'm a good student. I would pass with 70% and all. So now masters in genetics, all set, done, still in my mind, do that genetics. Now there's one hiccup there, chemistry. I was so poor at chemistry, that formulas would never get into my head. And I passed chemistry with my friend's help, to be honest. She was so good at it, my best friend, okay? So she helped me during exams, I cleared. But then when I came to know MSc Genetics has chemistry as a subject, which you have to clear to get into masters. I said, forget it then, this is not, you can't do it. So I stayed back. I was like, no, what now? Again, that Kida started. So this word Kida that we use, right? It's always there, especially when you're young. Then my dad sat for a change. He said, tell me, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know, but I need something in front of my name. I just can't be Tehina. I need a doctor. I need something. I need something. So then he thought, you're very excellent with your, the way you approach people, talk people, why don't you do IAS, UPSC? Okay. That was my dad's dream, that one of the child should be an IAS officer, and he chose me. Okay. So I don't know if his choice was right or wrong, but then yes, what we did was, I'm basically from Hyderabad. So in order to get IAS coaching, right, my dad is himself a commissioner of excise. He's retired now though. So he knew the way to it, So he wanted to send me to Chennai to do this coaching just for the entrance, because the best IAS and IPS officers had opened up an institute in Chennai where they were calling aspirants from all over India and training. But to go there, you have to write an entrance in Hyderabad, right? So I did that because my dad wanted me to do. I did that. I cleared the entrance and I traveled with my dad to Chennai. So in Chennai, to my shock, my horror, my surprise, there were so many of them there from all over India. They had come, and only 15 would be selected out of 200 odd figure to be trained for the coaching of the exam. I said, forget it. Looking at them, they were also studious and all of that. So I said, fine, let me give an attempt. Because my dad, again, you always have that dad wants it. I walked into the interview room, another shock. I saw all IPS, IAS officers with those, serious looks sitting there, and they were trying. I'm like, okay, sit down, relax. And I just spoke casually, very casual attitude I had. I'm not someone who will be scared, but not someone who will be very, studious also. I spoke very casually. And when I finished the interview and I was stepping out, they said, we want to talk to your father. Who has come with you? I said, my dad. Call him. We need to talk to him. I'm like, why? So they said, just send him. So I came out and I told my dad, they're calling me. He's like, why? I mean, none of the parents were called. Okay. We're all like, what? Graduates, right? 20, 20, 21. So, but my dad said, I don't know what you did inside now. So he went in 30 minutes of suspense outside. I'm walking tensed. Everybody's looking at what did this girl do? You won't believe, Navina, when my dad came out of the room, first time in my life, my dad hugged me. Yeah, he hugged me in front of all the people and he said, you made me proud.
Wow.
It's like, what happened? So he said, the people inside, they praised you so much. They said, she is going to make it. She is one of the best people we've interviewed. She's so honest, so casual, so open. I mean, she doesn't have anything hidden. Like, her answers were so, very open and honest answers. We liked that. And she's bold and confident. And, my dad was really happy and he felt like I've already become an IAS officer. So he left me in Chennai for 6 months coaching and he left for Hyderabad. Now exams, prelims, and during that period also, during my coaching also, in the hostel, in women's hostel, I was in a hostel for the first time and there also a complaint against me that the warden, she came and scolded me one day. She said, Tanina, till now the hostel was good. They were all such silent girls. You've spoiled them. So what I used to do in the midnight, I would wake up, I would take all the girls and take them up on the terrace and we would have fun and do whatnot. So she was really upset with me. She's like, why? But she still liked me though, but then she always, so these girls also started liking my company and all the other girls who were preparing for IAS were serious, sober, they also spoiled. So anyways, that journey was very nice. Now the exam day, right? People studied for 18 hours. I studied for 8 hours. Yeah. Because that's how I am. I can't put in more than that. So exam day I went, I took the paper, I knew all the answers. I didn't write.
Why?
Because I knew I would pass if I write.
What?
Yeah. I knew I would get through prelims. I knew I would again have to go to mains and then an interview, and then I'll be sent to some distant place for that training, some village they'll put me and all of that. So intentionally, I didn't write the answers. I intentionally flunked the prelims. I'll tell you why. So after this, then my dad saw the result. He was very disappointed. I said, I did my best. I worked hard. He knows. If she wants, she'll do it. And the real reason why I flunked is because of, I was in love back then. Okay, I was seeing someone. So, and then I thought that if I get selected and if I have to go away, then we'll be separated forever. So I gave up. I said, no, he's more important to me than this IAS. Ye sab kya hai yaar? Why should I do all of this? I have to get married because he's my life, he's my love and all of that at that age. And, we were very seriously in love. And my dad intentionally sent me to Chennai because he knew about this.
Yeah.
He thought she'll go there, she'll forget, distance will, indirectly. But little did he realize that nothing can separate us. So I came back, I got married. Yeah, immediately when I came back from Chennai. My dad married, though my dad is against love marriages. I'm the only one who got married, did a love marriage in my entire family, not just my siblings, but the Khandan. So why? Because he was scared where she'll elope and run off. I don't want that. It is better I do an arranged marriage. So he did that. But do you think that Khida in me died with marriage? No. That was still in my head. I just can't live with just that. So I told my husband, I want to study something. He said, now what? He also knew my journey. I said, I'll do law. He's like, law all of a sudden? How did that come up? I said, no, I'll write law set. If I clear, then I'll continue. But what he did was he said, okay, I'll let you study law on one condition. Promise me that you will never practice law. Okay. So I said, fine, because I wanted to study. I promised, literally promised, and said, कि हाँ मैं पढ़ूंगा, I will study, but I will not practice. Okay, so law journey started. I wrote law set. I got a good rank. I took admission, and the college was next. I got married by then. Our college was next to our house, so my husband would drop, pick me, everything. Went nice 3 years. I studied law. Every year I taught the college, and I got a gold medal at the end of the 3 years because I did really well. Wow. In my moot college, moot courts, when we go for moot courts, right? I would be the best performer, and my lecturers would say, wow, she is going to be a good lawyer. She can just win any argument, right? And all that happened, 3 years of law, studied, got a nice degree, enrolled in bar council, father happy, husband happy, everybody's happy around, right? Took the degree, put it in the folder, put it in the almara. Why? Because I promised I'll not practice. Aww. Right? So that UPSC IAS, I gave up because I thought I would lose the love of my life and all that, whatever thoughts I had, right? Then I gave up my law for him, the law degree, because I promised I'll not practice. And my dad was insisting. He said, why don't you write judge exams, for judge's position? He got me the books, he got me the admission form and all of that. But then because my husband was against it, I said no. And my dad is disappointed today, even to date, because of my whatever decisions I took, right? Then I had a baby and life went on. Now, where did my career start? How did I get into training? Why did that happen? Because see, the thing of doing inside, to do something, to do work, right? So that kept pushing me. Then I spoke with my husband. I said, what do I do? So I did diploma in advertising, right? So there was a copywriter's option that came up. Back then we would see only classifieds in paper. There was no Naukri.com and all of that, right? Yeah. So there was this classified saying the copywriters needed in a educational consultancy. So that word consultancy, education, teacher, copywriter, that went well with my husband, and luckily he's a ticket writer. If you get the job, you can do it. That's how I got into copywriting. As a copywriter, my first job at Visu Consultants, which sends students abroad for studies, I was allowed to work there, right? Now, while working there, me being a person who will go around, look around what is happening, right? So Visu used to send students abroad for studies. So there they would do TOEFL coaching, IELTS coaching and all of that. So where I would sit and do my copywriting, by the way, in that job also, I had to meet this foreign university visitors, interview them, publish journals, that kind of work it was. So I was happy doing it. Next to my room, there was this classroom where TOEFL training would happen and all young students would come. So one day there was lots of noise in that room, people, the kids, when I say all teenagers. So suddenly this manager of our consultants, he walked up to me and said, if you don't mind, can you just go inside and tell them for some time handle because their facilitator hasn't come. I just walked in casually in the training room that day. So, and I met these youngsters, I spoke to them, they asked me, I explained certain concepts and all of that and finished, came back. Next day when the actual facilitator came, these youngsters went and asked the management for me. They said, why can't we have her as a facilitator? Wow. So that's when that senior facilitator, I still remember his name, and I kind of take him as my mentor. He's Dr. Mohan Chennacheri. He was the one who started this training in GE, and back then, right? GE was the best call center and all of that. So he met me for the first time. He said, these students are asking for someone. I want to see who it is. So he met me and he said, oh, it's you. I said, yes, that's me. So he said, then why don't you get into it? I'm like, what? Training. I'm like, I've never done that. He said, I will train you. First you get trained and then you see if you can do it. So I sat with him through the session just out of curiosity to do something new, right? That's it, Navina, that bug of training got into me, and it is still there after 17, 18 years also, right?
Wow.
So the journey has been really beautiful with training, and it became a habit, you can say, or passion. Why? Because my trainees would connect with me so well, that I never looked back. I never regretted that law, that UPSC, missing all of that. It was never in my head because I got so involved in training. My first batch happened in 2004. And it's been like, what, 17 years now? And I still have those trainees connect with me. They are in contact with me on WhatsApp. One is in London, one is in Canada, one is in the US, wherever they are. They still text me, they're still in touch with me. And what touched me most in this training that I do is that gratitude or content that you feel towards helping someone. So one of my trainees went to an extent that with his first earning, he gifted me something. He said, "Ma'am, whatever I'm today, it's because of you." And he got me one pen, which I still have. Right? So that love they gave me and the relationship I built with them, that kept me going. I never turned back. So then I became a voice and accent coach, proper voice and accent coach. And in Touchwood, God has always been kind to me in terms of my work, right? From when I moved from a smaller organization to a bigger. And I'll tell you another interesting part of my career. I joined 24/7 as a voice and accent coach. Okay. And 24/7 already had senior people then when I joined, right? They were from Bangalore and all of them were much senior compared to me. I was new onto this field. So I just finished 1 year of coaching. And then appraisals happen, right? Every year you get an appraisal. So I didn't expect also. And when appraisals happened and when our progression was given, look at I don't know what to call myself. I was given the senior voice and accent promotion as a senior voice and accent coach who would had reportees, 5 reportees who would report to me, and I had to do whatever, facilitate, delegate, and all of that. And when I saw the list of my reportees, I saw one girl's name who's been much senior to me. She was from Chennai. And that girl felt really bad because she's more senior, right? And I went personally, I walked into my director's room, the company's director's room, and I said, "I don't need a progression." And I actually did that. He's like, "What?" I told him, "She's much senior to me. She's not feeling nice about it. Why don't you give it to her?" He's like, "I am seeing for the first time in my career, somebody who's got a progression is walking and telling that she doesn't need it. Are you fine? It's not you who decides whether you want it or no. You can't come back and give me back my promotion." But I couldn't face that girl. I was feeling so bad for her.
Oh.
Then he told me, one lesson he taught me is, you get what you deserve. You got it because of your work, not because of whatever reasons, right? And she didn't get it because her performance wasn't that nice. Not because of, you work for a number of years. And I was given a title, Navina, in 24/7. I was called the bottom quartile queen. When I say bottom quartile queen is because what would happen is we would divide, the service, customer service agents into 3 groups, right? Good, average, and below average. So, and we would train accordingly. We would bucket them and train accordingly. So in my, this thing, right, I would always get the below average trainees. All below average would be given to me because I would convert them into average and then slowly good. So I was called a bottom quartile queen because my conversion rate was high.
Wow.
So yeah, any new project comes, any new hire, whoever, it was always my name, Tenina, by the grace of God. But back then, I would not think like that, Navina. I would always think, why me? For everything, they'll call me. Extra work, they'll call me. This, they'll call me. So then again, my manager told me, because I would crib, कि मैं ही क्यों हर काम के लिए मैं ही क्यों. Then she told me it should not be like that. You should feel that it's you because you do it really well. then I got that into my head that yes, it's not that because people want, but then because you're capable of doing. So anyways, 24/7 journey was good, but nothing stops because you want to grow, and then I moved to Wipro, and I've been with Wipro for like long time. And I was given one particular project and with Wipro, one of the clients, and I worked there for almost 5 years in one project, which is again record breaking. Can I add one more story, Naveen?
Yes, of course.
So I'll tell you how my stories connect also. So before getting into Wipro, I had this short stint, okay, where I took a break. Again, my husband, as usual. Kitna kaam karte hai? Kyun karte hai? Take a break. So I took a break. But then taking a break is not like a break for me. So I took freelance work.
Yes.
How Wipro happened, it is very interesting. So this freelance work I took up with the consultants. So I would do on and off whenever I get project, right? So I got a project with Wipro before becoming payrolls Wipro. And that was in Genpact, one of the companies in Bhopal. And none of the trainers would dare to take up that project because it was far away from city and there's nothing around it and nobody likes that, environment because it's all IT. And for us trainers, IT environment is a big no-no. They're all into their laptops and they don't talk. So whoever went there, whichever trainer went there would come back in 3 months. So now it was for a challenge, like a challenge for me, how I'll do it, right? I took it up, I went. So 3 months later, they approached me, Wipro people, that was their client, right? They said, why don't you come on to our payrolls, right? So that 3 months changed into a lifelong journey. So yeah, and people in that project called me Resident Evil. They gave me that title. I'm like, boys, why Resident? Man, I can tell in Telugu one sentence.
Yes.
Right? So they would say, ma'am, mimmalni chuste bhayamaitadi, ma'am. You always keep correcting us. The minute you pass, we all are quiet because where she will listen and she'll correct us.
Share the meaning of the sentence you shared.
I will. So they would say, mimmalni chuste bhayamaitadi, which means if we look at you, we get scared. Okay, so that scare is not because of my looks, but it was because I would correct them so much. They would say, you're like a nightmare. Even in our dreams, we can hear you correcting us. So they would ensure they speak properly, behave properly, and follow all the etiquettes I taught them. And the client would appreciate so much, the change that we used to bring in our candidates, right? So for them, it was like one fear factor. Tahmina Khan is coming, keep quiet. But it was in a positive way. All my trainees interacted really well. So that journey went on for 5-6 years. Then I wanted to get into corporate as in my own learning and development team with Wipro, right? But then this project people said, stay back. You can continue because it's okay. They were very happy with the work. I started lots of initiatives and very well appreciated. But then that continuous move you needed. So I got into Wipro. Then somehow again, after 10 years, I realized, no, Navina, do something different again. So this, Navina, you see my entire journey, right? My career, the way it has shaped up. Is quite interesting. From one job to another one, and how I got into training, what happened to my law degree, where did my IAS aspirations go, right? So all this happened, it just happened with the flow of time. Now, do I regret? Do I regret not doing what I wanted to do? Because every youngster goes to this stage, right? Everybody, most of them feel that I wanted to do this, but today I'm not into it. Why? What happens? It's okay because I made a promise. I lived up to my promise. But do I feel I should have broken that promise? See, I could have done it, right? I could have easily done it. I could have argued. I could have told, no, I will do it. That was just the time. But then what I thought, what is my priority? Right? Who is more important? What is more important to me? Is it being a lawyer or is it being with the person I want to be? Right? So when I weighed both the things, I said, fine, if not a lawyer, I'm still doing something, right? So then I kind of accepted that, at times we take decisions which we don't want to, but circumstances make us take those decisions. People around us take those decisions, make us take. But then understand the difference that Are you happy doing it for that person? Right? Is that person happy with your sacrifice? Now, it is not that my happiness doesn't matter. My happiness does matter. Inside, I do feel I should have spoken. See, one message that I would like to give to all the listeners here is don't just sacrifice for the sake of sacrifice or promise just because you want to. Think before you do. If you think, if you can speak up at that particular moment, when that moment you're there in that moment, speak up, talk about it, make the opposite person understand. The mistake I did was I assumed that my husband may not understand. But today he tells me, you should have spoken at the right time. Now I can't go back and say, I want to be an IAS officer. My time is gone. I can't turn back the time. But still, I can help another person by telling that the right time, right decision, speak up. Don't keep it inside you. If they react, let them react. But at least you have tried. You won't have the regret. I should have tried. I should have spoken at the right time. Right. So that is what it is. And talking about law, I couldn't practice law. But you know how I got a way of connecting with law is when I was in Wipro, I was offered this role as an IC member of POSH. POSH is Prevention of Sexual Harassment Committee. So I became an internal committee member with them, right? So this is also a way I was connected with law. How did I get that POSH IC? It's not easy to become an IC. You have to have something to get an IC. So I showed my law degree and then I was connected with it. So I felt so good. And again, Navina, in that POSH committee also, I was awarded Award of Excellence within a year for the way I was involved in that, for the way I resolved the cases, for the way I communicated with the, for the allegation and whatever. I mean, the work and all of that, right? So I felt good. God will give you, if not directly, you will get it somewhere. See, advertising, diploma in advertising, I wanted to be into that field. I couldn't, but then I do lots of communication work now. I do posters, I do banners, I do content, I write articles. There's so much now that I do, which is related to advertising again, right? And my law degree also didn't go waste because I became an IC in POSH. What else could I ask for, right? So nothing goes waste. Somewhere it will be helpful. We have to understand one thing, Navina, which I have understood after all my experiences is be happy with that little half moon also. When I look at half moon, I'm happy. I feel it's so beautiful. I don't need a full 14-day full moon night. I'm happy with that crescent. Because if nobody appreciates that crescent, if everybody wants the full moon, then what when it starts, right? So I'm very satisfied with that half moon. So people lose a lot in the want of asking for more, right? Who doesn't have the thirst of asking for more? People do have the thirst. I want more. Ask me. I also need more. But then am I satisfied at the end of the day? Yes, I am. Doesn't mean I'll stop asking for more. I will. But at this moment, how am I feeling? I feel good, right? You have a question, Navina? Yeah, anywhere?
It's so beautiful listening to your story. I was like completely mesmerized from the beginning to the end. Beautiful way you explained your journey, how you started off as a child and how you went through your degrees one after the other, and how what I have the learning I have received from you is, you need to feel contented. You need to take responsibility of your life, take responsibility of
Yes.
your decisions, and say make sure you feel happy with what you are doing at this point of time. That's the only
Absolutely.
way to go ahead in life, and that's completely related to well-being in all, in any way we see, it's completely related to one's happiness and well-being. And I thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I've never had such a beautiful person, coming and sharing their story so candidly and so upright and forthrightly, in a very simple way. You have explained your whole life out to us, and this is a learning which we cannot get from anywhere or any books except like talking to people like you. You are a true inspiration, and I'm honored. I'm really honored to have had you on our show today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview Technina.
It was lovely talking to you, and thank you for making me feel good and nice too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Navina. Welcome.
Have a beautiful day.
Yeah.